We stand at the precipice of a profound inquiry, one that delves into the shadows of human nature and the intricate architecture of our societies. We speak of Nietzsche not as a prophet of doom, but as a relentless anatomist of the human condition, one who dared to confront the uncomfortable, the often suppressed truths that lie beneath the veneer of our collective existence. This is the realm of the Dark Nietzsche, a perspective that gazes unflinchingly into the abyss of what we are and what we might become. There exists a deep primal yearning within each of us for absolute independence, a desire to chart our own course, to forge our own meaning, to become the sole author of our lives. Yet this very yearning, this pursuit of radical self-authorship and unfettered intellectual sovereignty is met with a profound, often unacknowledged terror by the very societies we inhabit. Why is this so? What is it about the prospect of a truly independent soul that sends tremors through the collective unconscious? Nietzsche himself offered a stark warning, a truth that resonates with unsettling power. He who fights monsters should see to it that he himself does not become a monster. And if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. This is not merely a philosophical aphorism. It is a mirror reflecting our deepest anxieties. Society, in its relentless pursuit of order and predictability, has constructed its own kind of abyss, the abyss of conformity, of shared dogma, of the comfortable, the known. And when we, as individuals, begin to gaze too deeply into the potential of our own absolute independence, we risk seeing not only ourselves, but also the terrifying void that society has so assiduously tried to avoid. This societal terror is rooted in deeply ingrained psychological mechanisms. The herd mentality, a powerful evolutionary impulse, offers the illusion of safety in numbers. It whispers that belonging is paramount, that deviating from the flock is a perilous act. The comfort of the known, the familiar rhythms of established norms and expectations, provides a soothing balm against the chaotic potential of true freedom. The fear of the unknown, the vast, unmapped territory of individual sovereignty, is a primal dread that society actively cultivates, often through subtle, pervasive means. It is this intricate interplay of fear and comfort, of belonging and isolation, that makes the specter of absolute independence so terrifying to the collective. It threatens the very foundations upon which societal order is built, and in doing so, it forces us to confront the unsettling possibility that the truths we hold most dear are, in fact, carefully constructed illusions. What, then, does it truly mean to be free? At the heart of Nietzsche's philosophy lies a concept both misunderstood and profoundly significant: the will to power, or will-matched asterisk. This is not a mere craving for dominance, nor a descent into brute force. Rather, it is the fundamental animating drive inherent in all life, a relentless impulse towards growth, expansion, overcoming, and the ultimate realization of self-mastery. It is the unseen engine pushing every organism, from the smallest cell to the most complex civilization, to strive to become more, to assert its existence against all resistance. Nietzsche observed this struggle with stark clarity, stating, "Everything in the organic world is a struggle for power. This struggle, however, is not solely an external battlefield. When this potent force of the will to power is directed inward, it becomes the very essence of Selbstüberwindung, of self-overcoming. It is the disciplined, often arduous process of confronting one's own limitations, shaping one's character, and forging a self that is more robust, more authentic. But when this same drive is projected outward, when it is channeled into maintaining existing structures and suppressing deviation, it can morph into the very mechanisms of societal control that choke individual autonomy. Consider, then, the deep-seated societal terror of absolute independence. It arises not from a desire for the individual's well-being, but from a collective manifestation of the will to power that seeks to preserve its own stability, its own dominance. Society fears the individual who can genuinely assert assert their own values, who can truly overcome the imposed herd morality, the passive acceptance of conventional wisdom and prescribed behaviors. Such an individual represents a disruption, a challenge to the collective's carefully constructed sense of power and its established order. To navigate this complex dynamic, we can employ a simple yet powerful thought exercise, an internal power audit. Ask yourself, where is your own will to power truly directed? Is it channeled towards genuine self-overcoming, towards creation, towards the arduous but liberating task of becoming who you are meant to be? Or is it being subtly siphoned away, directed towards conforming to external pressures, seeking validation, or maintaining a comfortable, dependent state that shields you from the disquietude of true independence? This introspection is not about judgment, but about clarity. It is about understanding the direction of your most fundamental life force and recognizing the subtle ways society attempts to redirect it. By understanding the pervasive nature of the will to power, we can begin to identify its influence, both within ourselves and in the societal structures that seek to contain it. Nietzsche's vision of the Übermensch, the Overman or Superman, is often shrouded in misunderstanding, painted by societal fears as a figure of monstrous egoism. Yet at its core, the Übermensch represents a profound ideal of self-creation and radical overcoming. This is not a being who merely exists, but one who actively transcends conventional morality, who dares to cast off the inherited shackles of societal values and, with audacious courage, creates their own. It is the ultimate expression of self-mastery, a life lived according to self-legislated principles. Nietzsche's startling words reveal this ambition plainly. Man is something that shall be overcome. What is the ape to man? A laughingstock and a shame. Man is something that shall be overcome. So laughs the whole of the future. This statement is not a dismissal of humanity, but a profound acknowledgement of our potential for evolution, for self-transcendence. It highlights the continuous self-overcoming aspect of existence, a journey that frightens a society deeply invested in the comfortable, unchanging state of the ape, the symbol of conformity, of a being content with its limitations. The societal fear of the Übermensch stems not from an inherent malice in this ideal, but from its very nature. The Übermensch's radical independence and their bold revaluation of all values, umwerting, allerwort, expose the artificiality, the often arbitrary nature of the existing moral frameworks and power structures that govern us. They represent a fundamental threat to the established notions of good and evil, concepts that society clings to for its very coherence and stability. When an individual transcends these imposed boundaries, they illuminate the limitations of those who remain bound by them, creating a discomfort that can easily curdle into vilification. Consider for a moment the value creator's dilemma. Imagine yourself stripped of all societal conditioning, free from the dictates of the herd. You stand alone, tasked with constructing your own moral compass. What would be your guiding principles? What would you deem worthy, and what would you discard? How would these self-created values, born from the depths of your own will and understanding, be perceived by the collective, by those who find solace and identity in the established order? The very act of imagining this solitary creation process reveals the profound courage required to live authentically, and the deep-seated fear society harbors toward such untamed self-authorship. The Übermensch, in essence, is the embodiment of that terrifying freedom, a beacon of self-creation that challenges the very foundations of societal control. Nietzsche bestowed upon us a concept of profound liberation, a radical acceptance that he termed amor fati, the love of fate. This is not a passive resignation, but an active, fervent affirmation of everything that has transpired, is transpiring, and will transpire in one's life. It is the embrace of not only the sunlit peaks of joy, but also the shadowed valleys of suffering, accepting it all with an equal measure of heartfelt acceptance. thoughts. It is the ultimate declaration of independence, not from life, but within life itself, a conscious choice to love one's entire existence with every perceived flaw and every moment of grace. Nietzsche articulated this with an almost sacred gravity. My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. Not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it, but love it. This isn't about enduring hardship. It's about actively embracing it as an indispensable part of the tapestry of one's being. True independence in this light is not about escaping the burdens of existence, but about affirming them, about finding a powerful, liberating strength in the totality of one's self and one's journey. This concept is inextricably linked to the terrifying thought of the eternal recurrence. Imagine, for a moment, living your life precisely as it is, with all its triumphs and all its agonies, an infinite number of times. This thought, when truly contemplated, is not merely unsettling. It is a profound test of one's life. It is terrifying because it demands an unvarnished honesty about our choices, our actions, and the ultimate meaning we have imbued, or failed to imbue, into our existence. To truly embrace absolute independence is to stand ready to affirm this eternal return, a burden of affirmation that most find utterly unbearable, preferring instead to dream of escape or a different path. Society, by contrast, often gravitates towards narratives of escape, of redemption, of a linear progression towards a better future. The profound acceptance of fate, the courageous embrace of suffering inherent in amor fati, and the chilling prospect of eternal recurrence directly challenges this ingrained desire for a narrative that allows us to avoid confronting the present moment. It forces a confrontation with the radical responsibility that true independence entails, shaking the foundations of complacency and demanding a courageous affirmation of life exactly as it is. Nietzsche's groundbreaking analysis of morality unveils two fundamental archetypes: master morality and slave morality. Master morality arises from the strong, the noble, the self-affirmatory. It is a morality born of power, where good is that which is noble, strong, and life-affirming, and bad is merely that which is common or weak. In stark contrast, slave morality is born from the reactive sentiment of the weak, the oppressed, the resentful. It inverts the values of the master, labeling that which is strong and independent as evil, and valorizing traits like humility, obedience, and dependence as good. This inversion is driven by a pervasive resentment. As Nietzsche observed, the noble man, when he thinks himself down, then has contempt for himself. The rabble has, in its pride, contempt for the noble man and the things that are dear to him. This contempt, this simmering resentment of the less powerful towards the more powerful, is the engine that drives slave morality. It creates a system that, under the guise of virtue, actively valorizes dependence and systematically labels true independence, self-assertion, and the pursuit of personal greatness as arrogance, selfishness, or a dangerous deviation from the norm. It is a subtle yet powerful mechanism designed to keep individuals tethered to the collective in fear of standing apart. Consider how often our societal structures and norms operate on a foundation of this reactive morality. Conformity is rewarded, humility, often a performance, a mask for fear, is praised, and dependence is implicitly or explicitly encouraged. Conversely, those who exhibit radical independence, who boldly assert their own vision, who pursue personal greatness with unwavering focus, are frequently met with suspicion, criticism, and ostracization. They are deemed egoists, threats to the delicate balance of equality, and disruptions to the comfortable predictability of the herd. This system, born from resentment, is a powerful deterrent to the free spirit. To navigate this insidious influence, we can employ a resentment decoder. Begin to observe your interactions and the prevailing societal narratives. Can you identify instances where judgments, criticisms, or the discouragement of independence independence seem to stem not from a genuine concern for well-being, but from an underlying current of resentment towards those who exhibit more strength, more self-mastery, or a bolder spirit. Recognizing this dynamic is the crucial first step in resisting its pull and reclaiming the authentic path of your own independent will to power. The terror society feels towards independence is in large part the terror of its own reactive, resentful foundations being exposed. Nietzsche's philosophy of perspectivism offers a radical challenge to our understanding of truth itself. It posits that there are no absolute objective facts waiting to be discovered, but rather an infinite multiplicity of interpretations. Each truth, each understanding of reality is inherently tied to a particular perspective, shaped and colored by the individual's unique will to power, their drives, their values, and their very being. At its heart, this idea is encapsulated in one of Nietzsche's most provocative declarations: there are no facts, only interpretations. This is not a nihilistic surrender to meaninglessness, but rather the very bedrock of intellectual independence. It is the profound realization that we possess the power to construct our own understanding of reality, to choose the lens through which we view the world, and to actively shape our own truths rather than passively accepting those handed down to us. This concept is deeply intertwined with the pronouncement of the death of God. This was not merely a declaration of atheism, but a recognition of the decline of absolute, divinely ordained moral and metaphysical certainties that once provided a seemingly unshakable framework for existence. For society, this collapse of external validation creates a terrifying vacuum, a void that can easily descend into nihilism or lead to a frantic, often desperate search for new dogmas to fill the emptiness. But for the truly independent spirit, this vacuum is not a source of dread. It is an invitation, a vast expanse of possibility where meaning and truth can be forged anew from the crucible of one's own perspective. The true terror of absolute intellectual independence, therefore, lies in this profound freedom and the equally profound responsibility it demands: the ability to hold and navigate multiple perspectives, to question every absolute, and to courageously forge one's own truth is not only liberating but also existentially daunting. It means shouldering the entire weight of one's worldview, a burden that the collective society collectively shies away from. Instead, society clings to shared, often unexamined interpretations, finding comfort in the illusion of objective certainty, a comfort that absolute intellectual independence irrevocably shatters. We have journeyed through the disquieting landscapes of Nietzschean thought, probing the very core of why absolute independence is a specter that so intensely terrifies the collective. We've seen how this terror is not born of malice, but of a deep-seated fear of the unknown, a fear of what lies beyond the comfortable, well-trodden paths of societal expectation, the established power structures, the ingrained comfort of herd morality, and the pervasive illusion of shared truth. These are the bulwarks society erects, and absolute independence is the force that threatens to dismantle them. Each concept we have explored, the pervasive drive of the will to power, the aspirational ideal of the Bermensch, the radical acceptance of amor fati, and the eternal recurrence, the foundational dichotomy of master-slave morality, and the interpretive nature of perspectivism, all converge on a single potent idea: radical self-authorship. These are not mere philosophical abstractions. They are the tools and the insights for those who dare to forge their own meaning, their own values, their own existence, independent of external validation or societal decree. This path of self-authorship is inherently subversive to a status quo that thrives on conformity and dependence. The nature of true independence is, by its very definition, solitary. It is a path walked not by the many, but by the few who possess the fortitude to bear the weight of their own existence, their own decisions, and their own truths. It is a profound responsibility, a burden burden that can feel crushing, but also one that, when embraced, becomes the source of unshakable strength. This is not a journey for the faint of heart, but for those who understand that freedom is not found in comfort, but in the courageous confrontation with oneself and with the world as it truly is. Nietzsche's ultimate call to action, his most profound imperative, is elegantly simple yet infinitely complex. Become what you are. This is the zenith of independence, the ultimate act of self-creation. It is an unwavering commitment to embracing one's unique destiny, to shedding the limitations imposed not only by society, but perhaps more crucially, by oneself. It is the courageous affirmation of one's own being in all its magnificent, terrifying singularity. The darkness we have explored in Nietzsche is not an invitation to despair or nihilism. Rather, it is a powerful call to confront reality unflinchingly, to strip away the comforting illusions and face the raw, unvarnished truth of existence. It is in this unflinching gaze that we can begin to forge our own light, a light that does not depend on the flickering flames of external validation or societal approval. True strength, as Nietzsche teaches us, is not found in conformity, but in a profound, terrifying, and ultimately liberating absolute independence. It is the solitary ascent where one finds not desolation, but the boundless expanse of self-mastery.